Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. I am James Rink, and we have a very exciting show for you today. We also have a very special guest here. So we have Ismael Perez, and I'm going to go ahead and just read his bio. He was recruited as an ultra elite super soldier in the secret space program by an off-world group known as the Central Race that comes from the future, a.k.a. Wingmakers, according to the ACIO. He then served 60 years in the 5th Corps of Radiant Guardians to fight in the multiverse war against the evil AI. The Radiant Guardians work with higher dimensional beings beyond the Galactic Federation. During this time, he helped liberate galaxies in the cosmic sector of Enzra that consists of 100,000 universes. Our local universe is number 84, and our constellation number is 70, and our system, which our planet is located, is number 24, comprised of 52 local star clusters. Within that cluster, we are known as the planetary body 606. He now serves as a cosmic ambassador representing an intergalactic alliance known as the Covenant of Palaidor. This is a cosmic treaty that was initiated by the forces of light in the higher dimensions to protect and guard the Earth from the Draco forces and the AI. There is a collective known as the Animus that the Guardian Alliance has been battling for over 1 million years, and Ismael was a warrior in many lifetimes, as recalled from his many past lives. The majority of starseeds that have volunteered for the call to rescue this planet, including Ismael, have been selected to come here to help. Ismael is one of the inner council members who is here to bring forth the next level of cosmic disclosure that will restore our planet back to its original glory and fulfillment of the galactic prophecies. The information that he's going to bring forth has never been heard before on this planet. And we also got a link to your book in the description, Our Cosmic Origins, which taps into several of your past lives, as well as true galactic roots of humanity and the origin of the cosmos and the Earth's relationship to the multiverse. So, without further ado, thank you for coming on here, Ismael. I appreciate it.
Thank you, James, for having me here.
Right. So, by the way, and thank you, audience members, for joining us as well. We are live, and we will do the best. I'll do my best to get around the censors because I've already got one strike already. So I am, anyways, but I think we're going to be fine because we're going to stay on topic to SSP disclosure, which the AI gets confused about. It doesn't. So let's go here, and maybe we could start with how did this all begin for you? Being a ultra soldier, does that mean that you were created in some kind of laboratory and then inserted into the public, such as in Project Surrogate?
The way my mother described it was that she was actually being abducted the whole time she was pregnant, a few times a month. And she just recalled seeing these beings of light. She called them angels, but she also recognized that they were inside a huge mothership. And they were actually using gene splicing in order to delete, add, and modify genetics. Pretty much, they were actually mixing my DNA with all these different celestial races from different universes. And so I was one of 100 individuals that served in Core 5 that were actually also taken to be, genetically modified up in a mothership. And the beings that were conducting the operation were known as the Central Race. They do have other names. Some people call them the Azurites, which is a 12-dimensional group of beings that operate within the Rock Confederacy. And the Rock Confederacy is a realm beyond the galactic levels of reality, going beyond the local universe into the cosmic minor sector of Enzra as well. So they come from really high level dimensional realities. And so it all started with these little stories that my mother used to tell me as a kid. I used to think she was just, trying to make me feel different because I was always bullied and picked on and I never quite fit in. So I used to think she was telling me these stories to make me feel better, to make me feel like I was special. But, one day she passed away when I was 16, and and I just remember her telling me 2 days prior to her passing away, she was saying, Ishmael, everything that I told you about you being an experiment that is being conducted by beings of light is actually true, and one day you are going to receive your memories. One day you are going to know who you are in your multidimensional reality and who you were prior to incarnating here on the earth. And when she said that, I started, it actually triggered me, James. It caused me to like want to start meditating, and it made me just hungry for knowledge. And then that's when I began investigating things for myself. But right before that happened, I did experience moments of what they called missing time in my life, where I found myself walking on a particular street. And it's funny because it's always the same street. But this is the thing, James. I didn't know how I got there. I didn't even know what I did prior to walking on that particular street. All I remember was that I just ended up there without any recollection of what I did, to get there. Like, I don't know if I was coming from school, from my house. I don't know where I was coming from. And so that incident occurred 3 times in my life when I was 16, 18, and 19, 16, 18, 19, about going to be 20, towards my late 19 year, when I was, about to be 20 years old. And that's when I noticed that happened 3 times in my life. So that's always been with me. I've always wondered why that happened to me. Why didn't I have any recollection as to why I ended up just walking on that street without knowing how I got there? And so again, I started going within myself. I started meditating, and that's when I felt like I was being communicated. I was receiving transmissions from other dimensions, and I felt a connection to the off-world entities. I felt that there was some sort of intimate connection between me and these off-world entities. So then at that point, I knew I was different. At that point, I knew that I wasn't human. Okay. And, eventually I started having memories. Through meditation, James, I started having memories of my past lives in Lyra as a Lyran, I guess, high Lyran commander. I also had memories, slash warrior. I also had memories of life in Sirius, life in the Pleiadians. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I having these memories of being this great galactic warrior in these galactic wars, and this was during a time where people were still watching Star Wars and Star Trek. And to me, I felt like I was going crazy, having these memories of being part of these galactic wars. And so I decided to investigate things to see if there was any tangible records that actually confirmed any of this information. And I discovered a whole lot of information, due to my hunger for knowledge of this stuff. And it wasn't until I was probably in my early 30s and mid 30s that I started having these strange dreams that I was part of this group of elite super soldiers. And the reason I call it elite was because we had abilities that you would only see in like Marvel movies or DC movies. Some of us were able to literally fly like Superman, emit laser beams through our eyes, electromagnetic plasma waves through our hands, like, the X-Men. Capable of controlling weather with our minds, capable of manipulating matter, energy, and time. And it had a lot to do with us being upgraded, So I started having memories of just kind of like what we see in the video game Halo, where we're strapped into this advanced aircraft, and we have the things on, and we're wearing these special suits, and all the men are built like they're genetically just like Captain America looking. Everybody was buff, and all the girls were fit. And I just remember it was. I think it was 50 men and 50 women, a total of 100 of us that were part of the column, or what we call Core 5, serving within, the, I guess what some call the program called Radiant Guardians. And the first person who actually came out and termed that was Randy Kramer, I believe. He was the first one to come out that talked about Radiant Guardians. So before Randy Kramer, I had no clue. I mean, I've heard of like, Aaron McCollin, I think. I've heard of what's his name? The guy that died with the black goo. I forget his name, but he was killed.
Max Fears.
Yes, I've heard of him, and then I've heard Corey Good's testimony, but they only talked about radiate. I mean, they only talked about Solar Warden, so it wasn't until I heard Randy Kramer's testimony about Radiant Guardians where it clicked for me, because that's the name that I kept getting in these dreams: Radiant Guardians, Radiant Guardians. And I just remember just, scenarios where we were taking on this vessel. We would teleport to planet Jupiter, because that's where the main base for Radiant Guardians was located. Because again, planet Jupiter also acts as an intergalactic, where many galaxies are actually coming, sending representatives from different galaxies to create some sort of an intergalactic union between, billions of galaxies. And that's what's happening on planet Jupiter, by the way. So that was our main place, because they knew about the of the programs that we were engaged in. And so I just remember teleporting to planet Jupiter, and then from planet Jupiter, they
Can you,
will.
can you pause a second? Was
Sure, sure.
Jupiter was that actually solid, or did you go to Jupiter Command, the space
Um,
station?
I believe that, yeah, it was called Jupiter Command, but they also had another name for the city, because I know at Mars we have Prime Arius, and then there's another one, but
Thomas.
I think, yeah, Prime Arius, and then I think Jupiter was.
New Warburg.
Is that the other city in Mars? Yeah, I didn't know that part, because I never went. They never located me to Mars or dispatched me to Mars. I always went straight to Jupiter. But I do believe that the soldiers of the soldiers of Solar Warden did go to Mars as a preliminary before going off into their mission. So I do remember going inside Jupiter, and it was like just huge, huge interstellar, structures where there were many terrestrial races from, representing billions of galaxies. And I just remember
Does,
when I went. Say that again.
well, does that mean that the surface of Jupiter is solid?
The surface of Jupiter is inhabited by higher dimensional beings beyond the sixth dimension. But because I guess we were operating from the fourth and fifth dimensional, we were actually inside Jupiter where the structures are located. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I just remember just many representatives of different galaxies cheering us on, saying, okay, giving us their blessing before we went off on the mission, saying, wow, you guys were cultivated for this. Many universes came together to create you guys. You guys are the pinnacle of that, and now here we are, ready to employ you guys on your first, cosmic mission to restore and save many of the galaxies and universes that have been affected by this cosmic AI. And it's not just the Animus. I mean, we were fighting different cybernetic intelligences that were different than the Animus, but of course they were working with the Animus. They were actually their minions. We were fighting a group of beings known as the Omicrons, which was like a very advanced cybernetic race. There was also a group of beings known as the Borg, and then in some cases, some huge electrical cybernetic beings that looked like dark clouds, and they were huge. So, and then of course, a lot of the black spiders. The black spiders were actually one of our biggest foes. They were used in many universes to just kind of pop into reality and literally just terraform a planet in days. And so our job was to pretty much nuke them, nuke them with a different type of EMP that we generated through our bodies, being jacked to about 60 to 65% of our genetic power or genetic material.
Would you consider these spider beings, were they actual archons, like negative entities that control this AI matrix that we occupy, or are we talking about physical reality like nanobots?
Well, they're one and the same, because all artificial intelligence is controlled by archon energy. That's the consciousness that embodies all AI. So yeah, we were definitely fighting the archon energy through the artificial intelligence, so whether in the form of a spider or big, huge, dark electrical clouds that were conscious, sentient, but with no emotion, of course, and other entities. And so I started having, dreams of like flying and stuff, and just like popping into okay. So what would happen is we would meet for a preliminary in Jupiter. Okay. And after everybody gave us the blessing, all the representatives from the many galaxies who were actually calling us, the hope, they were saying, you guys are the hope of the multiverse, this and that. We were actually teleported. And how they would do it is they would plug in what is called a cosmic Stargate number. So how that works is like, the entire multiverse is divided into 7 segments. Each segment is considered a super universe. So our local universe is located within the 7th segment, known as Orventon, according to these records. And so our job was to secure and restore the cosmic minor sector of Enzra, which occupies over 200,000 organized local universes. So out of those 200,000 organized local universes, about 1/3 were afflicted by this AI. And, many, unfortunately, many galaxies were destroyed in the process. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of galaxies that were destroyed. And so what we would do is we would teleport by plugging in the Stargate, depending on the universe we were going into. So let's just say that what they would do is they would first plug in 7, which is the 7th super universe, and then they would plug in 5 because we're part of the 5th major sector within the 7th super universe, and then they would plug in 3 because we're part of the 3rd minor sector known as Enzra, and then of course they would plug in the local universe. So since we're universe number 84, they would plug in like universe number 133 or universe number 78 or universe number 13, and just by plugging in these numbers, we would open up a portal from Jupiter and directly just access. Within 2 seconds, we would open up the portal and transfer ourselves into these other universes within the minor cosmic sector of Enzra within seconds. And I just remember just being like strapped, like almost like we were about to go off into war and stuff, and just flying in these huge motherships and just being strapped. I'm sorry, they weren't motherships. I'm sorry, my bad. They were actually ships that housed about 100 individuals, but they were pretty big craft. But the reason I said motherships is because I do remember that in the Jupiter base, there was a lot of motherships that were in the inner structure of Jupiter that were kind of like hovering over the entire intergalactic meetings that were taking place there. And so what we would do is we would pop into these other universes, and then we would locate the certain galaxies and planets that were being mostly afflicted, and we would plug in their Stargate numbers. Each planet and each galaxy, each constellation has a Stargate number, and then we would access those particular realms, and then we would just clean house. And I just remember just coming back and everybody like patting us on the back saying, "Oh, wow, you guys did it again. Thank you so much. Now we secured, universe, blah, 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 in the constellation, blah, 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 and so many planets, and you guys did it again. Thank you so much. This was very, very, crucial, that we were successful in this operation." And so I just remember having dreams like that. So I used to think I was, going crazy at first. And then I heard Randy Kramer say Radiant Guardians. And when I heard his interview, I totally it just made me just think, like, what if I was part of the program? What if I was part of Radiant Guardians, with everything that my mother told me about, me having missing time, having these visions and these memories that are slowly coming back. I felt like, hey, it's probably, is there any way to access all my memories? Because from what I understand, James, they do blank slate us, right? That's what they do? Okay. So I figured that that's what they did because, I just remember glimpses. I don't really have full recollection of everything in detail, but I believe that the time is coming where we're actually going to access all our information once again and then be able to like write books, in detail about this stuff.
Can you describe the portal? What the portal, like even like when you're traveling through it, and what it looked like when it opened up in front of you?
It was very kind of like in the movie Doctor Strange. It just opened up just like a circle. They would use a technology device to open up the circle. The circle would literally just it would just literally just open up. And then, it was maybe about 12 feet in diameter going in the circle circumference wise. And I just remember it was just opened and all of us, like 100 of us, would just go right through it. And then that's how we were able to go to any particular world. They would just plug in the Stargate number and we had access to any universe, any planet, any galaxy at will.
And when you showed up on the other side, were these all oxygen planets? Or were
well, because we were genetically enhanced to use 60 to 65% of our full genetic material, we were able to operate on planets that were, some of them were nitrogen mainly dominated, some of them were methane. So we were able to actually coexist. And some of them were actually water worlds where we actually were able to live inside water. So it was kind of interesting, according to my memories, yeah.
Were there any concerns about bringing back viruses or any contamination from, bacterial, biological? organisms?
Yes, there was. Yeah. Well, it turns out that a lot of the universes and galaxies that were afflicted by the AI, many of the species were infested with what I guess what Corey would call nanites. So that's an issue. So we would go through this like cleansing device to pretty much clear not only our physical bodies but our etheric bodies as well. Because there's such thing as etheric STDs or astral STDs. And so we would go through this cleansing device that would actually just kind of cleanses physically, astrally, and etherically from any, nanotech, any type of negative technology.
Well, I mean, the only thing I could comment about that is that apparently, Umbrella Corporation, another alternate reality, was going to other planets, grabbing bacteriological organisms to create the Ouroboros, which is the zombie virus. But that actually G virus came from off world, where it was combined with AI and microorganisms. But yeah, I was just concerned that you might have got, but I guess they have advanced medical healing technology, or perhaps you said you were in the sixth dimension, so maybe it didn't affect you like it would here in third dimension Earth. But okay.
Well, I mean, we operated all the way up until from what I recall, up to the eighth dimension, because physicality exists all the way to the 12th dimension. It's just a different type of matter. It's more of a refined base matter, more crystalline oriented.
So let's go into let's just go discuss a difference between Solar Warden, Radiant Guardian, and Radiant Glory. Why don't you give us a little rundown of what you think the three groups are about?
Okay, so Solar Warden is operational within our galaxy and our local universe. We have, I think, over 100 bases throughout the Milky Way, and I think, 900 to 1,000 colonies just within our solar system, and growing by the day. So yeah, that's what Solar Warden is doing. Solar Warden was also developed by the Federation in collaboration with our Navy, and of course the White Hats, in order to counter attack and the Dark Fleets and the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, who were actually more aligned with the Draco. And so, from what I understand, is that Solar Warden is not only our interplanetary police force, but is also throughout our galaxy known as the Galactic Police Force. Because we do have the most advanced genetics in the multiverse. As you know, we are galactic royalty, and this is evidence is confirmed by Alex Collier and other contactees. And so what they did is in Solar Warden is they enhanced genetics to maybe about 10 to 15%, but that was sufficient enough to reclaim the victory against the Draco in our galaxy. And of course, many of those soldiers were sent to Orion, because Orion has been a huge hotspot for this galactic war with the Draco. And I think just recently, a lot of our soldiers from Solar Warden just returned, I think within the last 2 years, when they secured the war in Orion. Is that correct, James?
Are we talking about Hammerhead, the maximum security prison, the Draco one? Did they go in there and rescue people? Is that because that's where they would take a lot of the people that were involved in the Orion Wars?
Yeah, I think so. But you are aware, though, right, that we've won the war in Orion already, right?
I thought it happens in 2023.
Well, I guess since all time is happening at once, I guess in terms of that, yes, it's. But the victory is ours. I mean, we do have the upper hand. I thought it happened in last year in 2021. I thought that's when our super soldiers returned from Orion. But you could be right. It could be 2023.
Johann Fritz was talking a little bit about Hammerhead and that particular war between Solar Warden, and I guess that's when actually the alliance was. Well, I mean, the alliance, I guess, theoretically exists now, but the schism of Dark Fleet breaks off, where a third of Dark Fleet breaks away with in conjunction with Solar Warden over this AI contamination issue with the elite officers.
Exactly.
So is that also what's connected with this war in Orion too? They were also fighting that as well?
Yes, because Orion was actually taken over by AI. I don't know if you recall. And what's been running Orion, even above the Draco, is what they call the Red Queen. And so I believe that's what we've been fighting pretty much in our galaxy. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I know the Red Queen has been mentioned before. She is really nasty.
Very nasty. And in fact, a lot of the gray human hybrids that they created here in our planet since the 60s were actually taken to Orion to be part of the Borg hive mind controlled by the Red Queen. And they believe that the only reason they took them there and they took some of our genetics was because sometime in the near future they're planning on sending these hybrids back to the Earth to conquer the Earth. But of course, we're not going to let that happen, right, James? We're going to be ready for them.
Yeah, well, we're going to need there are a lot of super soldiers out there.
Yeah.
Even when disclosure takes place, this is not going away anytime soon. But all right, well, let's talk.
So now the difference between Solar Warden, going back to your question, is that Radiant Guardians is actually operational in the multiverse. So it goes beyond our galaxy and our local universe, and that's that's everything I know. It's just that we've been fighting wars in other universes. As far as like knowing things in detail, I'm yet to get my memories back. I'm hoping soon though, because I really want to write a book about this.
Okay. Well, what I put in my book about Radiant Glory and Radiant Guardian is that, well, first of all, Solar Warden was founded. Well, I'm going to say founded, but the term was created during the era of Reagan with Star Wars and that whole initiative. But it actually existed prior to that. I don't remember the exact name of the project, but from there, Solar Warden split off into two different groups. Initially, it was Radiant Guardian, where Solar Warden would patrol the area from the sun to the Oort cloud. In the 1990s, Solar Warden was divided in half, where Radiant Guardian patrols the sun to Mars and Mars ring asteroid belt, rather. And Radiant Glory was tasked with patrolling the region from Mars ring to the end of our solar system near the heliosphere or out towards the Oort cloud. So I guess theoretically, so that means Radiant Guardian is really a subdivision of Solar Warden.
I believe so, yes. And then there's even I guess a program, a even more subdivisional program that was used that was actually left off the records. And I believe that there's only about 100 individuals were part of that program. And the only reason, from what my mother told me, is that the only reason they picked her was because she carried a very high concentration of Rh negative blood type, which is the universal donor. Yeah, I think she was the AB negative. I'm not sure. It's the most rare one out of all the Rh negatives.
All right. So we got, okay. So at that point, the task of Radiant Guardian, Radiant Glory, according to the notes that I wrote here, is that they're tasked with patrolling the areas, making sure different groups have supplies. They also make sure everybody's getting along. And if we have like a comet or asteroid, they're responsible for taking care of that as well. But you're you're saying that it was primarily the AI is what your main focus was.
Yes.
At least your team. Okay. So let's discuss a little bit about of course, with there is Dark Fleet out there, and that would be the more, I guess you could say, more negatively aligned in ACIO. Draco, they embed Draco officers on all their ships, at least until the schism takes place.
Exactly.
The officers are required to drink black goo.
Yes, they are.
So what about on Solar Warden? Were any of the officers contaminated with black goo? Do you happen to know?
I don't have any information on that, but I do believe, according to some testimonies that I heard, that some of the officers or some of the soldiers were contaminated, and they actually had to, get rid of the black goo that was in their body. I've heard rumors, but not that I can confirm, personally. Yeah.
So theoretically, you can't really get rid of black goo. What you have to do is you have to kill the person and then reanimate the body and bring the soul back.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, wow.
According to Peter the Insider.
Interesting.
Another person. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to interject that a splinter group of Dark Fleet actually joined the AI in other universes, and now they're building a vast. Okay, so basically, at the highest level of this AI war, we have Omega. Omega is the Dark Lord. I'm just revealing the name of the AI god. Sorry. Hopefully that's not too much. But they recruited a good portion of the Dark Fleet to go be part of what is known as the Phantom Matrix multiverse, which is a totally different multiverse that was actually developed by the AI himself, where they actually were able to assimilate our version of, or our organic multiverse, and digitally, create their own version, their own personal version of our multiverse, but it's an inorganic one. It's a multiverse that is inhabited by mechanical beings, androids. There is no biological life forms. And so what Omega's been doing at the highest level of reality is that he's been using a Death Star Mechaba in the as a black hole, in other words, to suck up universal life force from the organic living universes in order to power up his phantom matrix. So in a way, he's been this AI depends on our energy in order for its phantom matrix to continue existing. So that's the only reason why it didn't destroy all the multiverse, is because it feeds off of our energy in order to power its own multiverse, which is full of cybernetic intelligences. So there's going to be one final war, James, in the future, and I think it takes place after 1,000 years. I think after the solar flash takes place, we become upgraded. There's a new age here, and we become reinstated back to the galactic community. Right, first contact takes place. All of that. I think there's going to be about 1,000 years of peace, and then after that, we're going to, there's going to be a final clash against the Dark Fleet and the cybernetic phantom matrix multiverse. And that's going to be a huge war involving everybody in our universe, not just the super soldiers, everyone. Of course, we're going to be at the forefront of that, but I do believe we win that war.
Wow. Yeah, someone was actually asking that question. Do we eventually go to war with Dark Fleet? So that it would be
Yes.
okay. Well, we'll deal with that when the time comes. Of course, there's time travel involved, and probably the people from that future timeline are sending their soldiers back in time. Maybe that's you. Back in time.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm actually from the future. I just wish I could remember the mission. I'm almost there, though. I'm getting tidbits here and there.
All right. So comments. Yeah. In my book, I mentioned the Omega Project, and that's what they call this whole New World Order agenda. But it's quite enlightening to hear what you said about the AI, because that actually makes sense. Where the wing makers were sending their tranches of technology back in time to be discovered by the ACIO to fight the Animus, and here we are in this whole cycle. But we also got so somebody was asking about the reason why Dark Fleet officers would consume black goo. One of the reasons is because out there in the universe, the average IQ of many of these advanced extraterrestrials is around 700 to 800. And of course, IQ has to do with standard deviation, so that's just way off the charts. The Dark Fleet officers usually they have technology to enhance your IQ 150 to 200. So with the black goo, they can bring that up to about close to 400, but they're still basically dummies out there. But so there's an incentive to increase your intelligence, increase your well, I was going to say intuitive abilities, but I would say black goo would probably shut that down, because it takes away your connection from your heart chakra. You're connected to God's source, but you're more intelligent, but you're like a Borg. Anyway, the other thing I want to mention is Tron. Word has got back to me that there is a parallel universe that is like the movie Tron, where everything is digital AI, but it's positive. Do you think it's possible there might be a positive AI universe out there?
No.
And it's controlled by this Lord Metatron. Is that
no?
okay?
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny that you mentioned Metatron, because the second name to Omega is Metatron, because Metatron, the original authentic Metatron, is the giver of life. He's the one who, through geometry, sets the actual blueprint for universes to come into existence. Whereas Omega, the reason he calls himself Omega Metatron is because that means the destroyer of life. So while the original Metatron gives life, Omega Metatron destroys it. So it's that cosmic duality with AI.
Okay. And so I guess without trying to get another strike on this channel, the Jabiru people were supposed to be going to that negative timeline, and those who took the boosteroos, then they're checking out. So do you have any information on whether or not, because I believe we're on a positive timeline, do you think that the Alliance is going to stop that from happening? release technologies to help these people before this, what do you call it, the solar flash takes place?
That's the goal. That's the plan. From what I understand, according to my research, it takes about 3 to 4 years for the nanotech in people's body to totally take over their minds or central nervous systems and absolutely just conquer them mentally, where they become, like zombies. It's a 3 to 4 year process. So it's been 2 years since they've administered the medicine, and so I believe that it's in the positive timeline. I believe that the Alliance and the White Hats are going to come in strong and bring about the disclosure and right in the nick of time bring forth these healing modalities that is totally going to neutralize the poison. And also another thing that I believe that could happen that will totally save these people from entering the Phantom Matrix timeline, which they don't want to end up in, is the solar flash, which is going to act as a huge EMP that is not only going to have an effect here on our world, but from what I understand, it's also going to have an effect throughout the multiverse coming from this world. So that's another interesting theory that I've been hearing about. So we'll see how it goes down, James. But I do know that in the positive timeline, the forces of light have won the war. I also know that in the future, the metahumans do win the war against Omega and the Dark Fleet and the entire cybernetic collective, and it's now all coming into play here in the present. It's all just trickling down here in the present.
All right. Well, this might tie into this question. Maybe it doesn't. SSP personnel will get their memories back around 2026 to 2027. What do you think might happen around that period of time?
Hopefully by no later than 2028, we could have this grand solar flash. That's my hope, because, how much longer can humanity take, the abuse?
So you don't ever expect, I don't know, how about say a website being set up of all our files being put on there, and then we could log on and find out, oh, I was in the SSP after I didn't, I guess. Yeah.
I think that in the positive timeline, when disclosure takes place, all that stuff will be restored to us. But I think that we're also going to be getting memories. Our memories are going to be coming back to us, James, along with those files, of course. Those files are just going to be there to back it up.
All right, and this is where I have this question: full public disclosure. Do you think the government will come out and finally say, "Oh, by the way, we have a secret space fleet"?
We're heading there. Heading there. Yeah, Paul Hellyer, the Prime Minister of Space Defense of Canada, already came forward. As it the Israeli ex-space head of command, what's his name, Ashmed or something. He came forward, I think, 2 years ago. So it's prepping there, So.
All right, let's go. Okay, well, so I think you mentioned this off camera. How many 20-year and back missions have you done?
I believe 3. Yes, because there's 3 instances in my life where I felt missing time, and I believe that had a lot to do with this. Yeah.
Yeah. So typically, right after they return you on a 20-year and back, you would be extremely exhausted for about 3 days. And I noticed one time I just had dinner, and then next thing I know, I felt like I haven't eaten in 3 weeks, and I was so exhausted for the next couple of days. So, so that might be a sign that you might have been involved in this. Do you have anything you might want to comment on that? What you noticed after you were returned?
Just that I didn't remember anything. It's almost like I had no recollection of how I ended up there. That's all I remember. But I do, and now that you bring it up, I do remember feeling very lethargic at the same time for a couple of days. I do remember that. Now that you bring it up.
Do you have any information on the process of actually how they blank slate you?
I have no recollection. But I believe that this is a technology that was developed by the ACIO in collaboration with the Cordium. So I don't know if that was for nefarious reasons, because the original purpose of developing blank slate technology was to blank slate the Animus upon their revival, not to use it upon humans. But I do believe that they used it on humans, especially those that served within the program, because they already had it. How they used it, I don't know, but it works, obviously.
Yeah, well, I notice a lot of SSP experiencers. That's of course blank slating is they're not going to necessarily remember the blank slating because everything else has been wiped. That's like the last thing you remember is. But typically, the people that do recall it under regression, they're put into some kind of bed or a tank. They're required to sit still for up to seven days. I think it's your age drops back 10 years for every week you're in there. So if you were 20 years, you might be in there for 2 weeks. Other times they might have a clone body. So they would put you into stasis and send you off world. And then at the end of your service, the clone would be expired and send you back. That would be the case, like, because I think you said you were in enhanced bodies at that, like avatars. Do you recall being cloned out, being put into tanks and going?
No, I don't remember any of that. And from what my mother said, she says that that my I guess the way they made me was where they didn't have to clone me. Oh no, she said I was unclonable. That's what she told me. She goes, they never cloned you. They couldn't clone you because of the types of genetics or DNAs that they gave you. It's impossible to clone this type of genetic material. That's what she used to tell me. So I don't know how they did it with me. I think they used a very highly advanced technology where they would actually just put you in a chamber and literally just regenerate your body back to what you were before they took you, which was a better way than just cloning you. Because then, cloning you, it requires extrapolating your consciousness from one avatar to the next, and that's just lower technology.
Well, but on the other hand, if you went on a mission and you died, and they needed to reanimate you somehow, they would want to have cloning material.
A clone, yeah.
Back. And some people actually didn't come back. They might have been purposely killed, like airlocked. They were, but they just went crazy. They were a bunch of assholes, and when they were sent back, they send the clone back that doesn't have the soul, and it quickly dies. It deteriorates. There are cases like that, but I'm glad.
But in my case, because I was, I guess enhanced to 60 to 65% of my full genetic material, my body was made indestructible. For those that served, in my group, we were all made indestructible.
Yeah, tell us more about how they enhanced your abilities. So, like,
we all had a nickname. They used to call me the Kryptonian. Everybody had a nickname, just like you had a nickname. So because we were using adamantine particles, which is very advanced crystalline genetic structure, our bodies were very, very to the point where they were equivalent to vibranium. A bomb can destroy it. No laser, no weapon out there could destroy the type of your physicality at that level of percentage. It's totally indestructible. And I do remember that. So, we all had a nickname and stuff. So I was the Kryptonian, and everybody else had a different name. So they gave us these. I guess they adopted the nicknames from the comics, But again, there's a lot of truth to those comics, James, when you consider that the people who actually wrote DC and Marvel were actually insiders back in the 50s, and they were part of these ultra secret meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to look up. What was the name of the material that was in the pre? That I was trying.
The adamantine particles.
Pre is comes from the rings of Saturn, and it's a metal that's your body treats it like gold, but it's harder than diamonds. It's also got chameleon class technology capabilities, so they would replace the bones of pre metal and then clone tissue over it. Well, I guess you said you weren't cloned out, but theoretically, I don't know. Maybe they would have to, but they probably would have had. You said they didn't modify you with femtonites because they didn't want you to interface with AI. They wanted you to be a crystal. I guess upgrade your DNA to be more a crystalline being.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
have
Because
more.
I do remember operating in multiple dimensions. Like I was able to master and control gravity and everything, time. I was able to manipulate reality at will at 60 to 65%, kind of like in the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. I mean, it was literally like that for us.
And do you think these abilities might cross over into your civilian life eventually? Come back
I
to you?
sure, I sure hope so. I'm working on that.
I mean, they would have had looking glass technology, I assume, where they could look into the future, glimpses of it, and see the potential reality of what might happen. Was that ever a concern to them that suddenly their super soldiers assets became fully aware?
Well, because of the purpose and mission that we served, we actually have very highly security. We're very well protected, I was told. Our protection not just comes from the Pleiadians and the Federation, right? Our protection comes from beings beyond them. And so, because we're that important to the cosmos, and because of what we did for the cosmos, they're actually securing us so that when the time comes, when the time comes for our dormant DNA to come online, these abilities are going to come right back, which is going to be cool because I was told that I was also going to be used in the last war against AI. That's going to take place in about 1,000 years. So
Okay.
obviously, I'm not going to die, and you neither. By the way, we're going to live forever.
All right. So let's go into maybe you can. I wanted to go into a little bit earlier an ultra soldier. How would you define an ultra soldier of the radiant guardian variety?
The ultra soldiers are the ones that are the most advanced. There were the ones that were enhanced uh, to over 60%. I think 60 to 65%. That's what makes an ultra soldier from a regular super soldier. A super soldier, I think they were the most they've ever enhanced a super soldier is up to like 25 to 30%, and that allowed them to have telekinesis, psychic powers, precogs, straight out telepaths where they could just read and sense things, capable of observing data and information, where they could walk into a room and tell you exactly what every person is doing, all hundreds of them, within a second, which is a type of perception that allows you to capture everything like in pictures. So I do know that there was different levels of upgrades, and each which gave us a different categories from regular super soldiers to elite super soldiers to ultra super soldiers. So that's the spectrum.
And how would the radiant guardian ultra soldiers compare to say some of the ultra soldiers? I guess they would have had leak Sadat over a dark fleet. I mean, there would be different types.
Well, the Dark Fleet developed their own versions of ultra soldiers, human 3.0s, by mixing and merging with AI. So some of the members of the Dark Fleet became extremely powerful, but again, they merged with the tech, and so they're now like cyborgs, but they're extremely powerful because not only are they using human genetics at like 60 to 65%, but they're also dealing with AI genetics as well, or AI, whatever you want to call it, digital cybernetic information.
Yeah, it almost sounds like they're a whole new life form already.
They are, and they're actually causing an issue for the living cosmos. So, like I said, that's going to be one last battle that we're going to have to clash in eventually or be involved in.
Okay, and I guess the other comment I wanted to make about the Leak Soldaten are super soldiers that were created by the Germans, and they took DNA from the original Atlantean race
Mm-hmm.
that can live up to 120,000 years, and they can create these hybrids in these cloning vats. It takes about 20 days to grow a clone up to full age, and they just stop aging. They don't age at all. Well, I mean, I guess it takes 120,000 years, but I mean, they practically don't age. That would be, I guess, is that the destiny of humanity to have our blueprint DNA returned back to the way it was?
Absolutely.
Atlantis.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in our original makeup, when we were first developed, we were developed as the most hybridized race in the multiverse, using 12 strands of DNA. We were, designed to achieve levels of power that no other species out there could achieve. And so that's why we became like the most, I guess, coveted race in the multiverse. Yeah, our genetics is priceless.
So this is a comment. Allison. Yeah. So something right out of Star Trek and Star Wars. I would comment and further and say neither of those two are getting it right. Star Wars, they don't show the cloning, the re-aging tech. Star Wars doesn't do. I'm sorry, Star Trek. Actually, both of them don't do it. They don't show you the extent of the medical healing technology that the real reality is much more advanced.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was left out in those movies. However, those movies are also very educational as far as them being more documentaries and just sci-fi. A lot of hidden knowledge in those movies.
This came up in the chat. Does is there a FedEx in outer space? Do they deliver in outer space?
It's no, it doesn't happen that way in outer space.
Okay, somebody should send a memo. And done. Okay, so let's go on to the next question here. Okay, so let's see here. How about this? Do you have any information about any treaties between the ICC, which is the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, or Dark Fleet with the Alliance? Are they
The
running the
no,
show?
no, they're completely separated. You know, the alliance is totally opposite to the agenda of the Dark Fleet and the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. However, there was a splinter of the alliance that actually did form a treaty with the Dark Fleet and the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, but they're going to be dealt with very soon. They're going to be dealt with. It was just a small percentage of traitors.
Yeah, this actually, I wanted to tie that question into the Star Trek question because in our future is Star Trek, but way more advanced. And the name that I actually got was, well, at least a possibility is High Fleet Command or Star Fleet Command. Do you have any information about what the secret space program, well, I guess it won't be secret in the future, might look like?
Yes, from what I understand is that Space Force and Solar Warden are going to be merge, and they're going to be called. I think they're going to be called not Star. Yeah, I do understand. They gave me the symbol, which is like it's kind of like a like that, but with a circle around it, and it's like blue with yellow. It's like a yellow circle with blue around it, and like a yellow cross representing the four quadrants of the universe, and how the Earth is going to now be the new guardian at the center of the entire universe, which is awesome. I can't remember the name of it, but yes, I do see a merging coming with Space Force leading the way, and then of course, you know, bringing forth the technology that's been used with Solar Warden and stuff. And of course, you know, taking us into a Star Trek reality where, you know, we're going to, the human race here on this planet is going to actually, you know, be scattered all throughout the galaxy, which is awesome. That's going to solve the population issue, of course.
And also they'll start building, there'll be flying platforms. Then eventually you can build a house on it. Then you can build a city on it. And then the flying platforms can go out in outer space. And then, and then planet Earth will be kept as a nature preserve on the surface. Okay, so let's go to, how about this? Some of the technology that you've encountered off-world. What can you tell us? What is it like out there?
A lot of the technology that I've encountered was living. It was like a biosubstance that was alive, where the intelligences were actually in a symbiotic way, were consciously infusing themselves with the, you know, crystals or the stones or whatever it is that they were using to you know, they were using them as tech. You know, it was living technology. So including their spacecraft, a lot of the spacecrafts were actually telepathically in communion with the person that was piloting them. And so it was amazing how they were able to communicate as if the spacecraft was an extension of their consciousness. It was beautiful. You know, some of this tech is just beyond our comprehension.
So Dark Fleet got their technology primarily by attacking innocent aliens and stealing their tech. There was also trades with the MMF, the Merchant Marine Fleet, where they would go around, kidnap humans on planet Earth, trade them to aliens with their own cybernetic units and regen tanks so they live forever, and replicator defeat them, and they trade them off as slaves in exchange for technology. So that's how Dark Fleet became so advanced so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Solar Warden, I'm assuming, would, in order to, because there is this, there's still like this, this issue between, because you got the Nazis down in Antarctica who are controlling Darkfleet, and now you got the Americans running the Solar Warden program, and there's still like a conflict going on here. But how did Solar Warden get all their advanced technology? Did they make a deal with the positive ETs like the Galactic Federation, and they just they just handed it over without trade? Because typically DNA is the trade, the currency of the universe.
Exactly, especially our DNA. They've been selling our DNA throughout the galactic slave trade for actually centuries. They just, we're just now catching on to that. But yeah, they've been abducting us for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah,
But
yeah, how does Solar Warden acquire their technology so quickly?
by the Federation, because what happened was, okay, from what I understand, is that the Federation first secured the Galactic Wars when they first won the battle in Orion 15,000 years ago. But then what happened was a group of the Draco Empire traveled into the future in order to recruit members of our race to genetically enhance them and, of course, mix them with the cyborg or with the AI to become cyborgs to go back in time and re-win the war against the Federation. And then so that's when the Federation also traveled back in time, popped into our reality in the 1950s, developed Solar Warden to counter effect that. And so a lot of this has to do with time travel. So definitely Solar Warden developed or received the technology by the Federation and the good benevolent forces to counteract what Darkfleet was doing with the Draco.
All right. Okay. So let's go into Cordium and the Labyrinth group. So is this connected? Is this the group that actually is traveling back in time, giving technology?
I do believe that, yes, the Cordium is a group that has been using a lot of time travel to give us the technology. So I think that they're the ones that are actually the depository of intergalactic records. And some of them are related to a lot of rogue extraterrestrials, especially from like the Evans and stuff, like the Naboo, and those that are involved with the hybridization programs involving human genetics and Zetas and Grays. So the Cordium is definitely not good. It's very, very malicious.
All right. But Labyrinth. So okay, this is what I wrote in my book here. Labyrinth group are a group within the Alien Contact Intelligence Organization that communicate with different extraterrestrial groups, including Numbers Group, Council of Five, and Cordium. They are tasked with helping maintain intergalactic security for these groups.
Yes.
Numbers groups has actual no agenda because each group has their own different agenda, but they act like an overseeing intergalactic council, like the UN is on planet Earth. The Council of Five guard this region of space to which our solar system also belongs. Mm-hmm. And there's the Council of Five represent Orella, Irigote, Genevas, Redons, and Murthers. And then I wrote the information about the Cordium is very secretive available at this time.
Very secret. Yeah, that's why they have the Labyrinth group, because only members of the Labyrinth group have access to the Cordium. Even people that are, because it's very compartmentalized, even people that are below the Labyrinth group, like those that are elite scientists within the ACIO, have no clue of what's really happening. All they know is that they inherited this advanced technology. And all they have to do is take orders from the Labyrinth group because those are their masters, But in turn, the Labyrinth group is taking orders from the Cordium, which is unfortunate.
Are you familiar with the Republic of the ACIO?
No, I'm not familiar with them, actually. It's the first time I've heard it.
Well, looking into the origins of the ACIO through remote viewing, we see that they come from another universe, and from that timeline, they call themselves the Republic of the ACIO. But the head of the ACIO appears to be some kind of AI infected entity, and it's not necessarily positive, which makes if it almost feels like the ACIO is more neutral here in this timeline, but maybe it's becoming more positive. I don't know, but from your perspective, it would be positive because the wing makers the ACIO is working to extract that technology and to help humanity. So anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to another question here. So why don't you tell us what do you think will happen at SSP disclosure or a first contact like event? What do you think it would be like?
I think many ships are going to appear worldwide, especially over huge cities, motherships. And I also believe that the Alliance is going to broadcast through the airwaves what's happening, getting humanity ready for first contact. And I also believe that the Mr. T and, JFK, the son that faked his death, are going to be with Commander Valiant Thor, who is the representative of the Venetian Council, who's actually working with the Alliance and the Federation. He's a liaison, is going to make some announcements, and that's what I've been told, that it's gonna be like mass sightings. The cabal's going to be exposed. This is after the EBS, after they initiate the new programs that is going to bring the wealth back to the people. Then they're going to prepare people for first contact, and I do believe that Commander Valiant Thor will be at the White House streaming with Mr. T and JFK Jr.
And at that point, will he be the president of the world? They'll disband the United States and create like a whole planetary governance.
No, it's going to be. The current structure is going to shift into one of interplanetary structure comprised of 22 different federated regions. Yes, so he's going to be in charge of the American Federated Region, but there's going to be 22 others. And in turn, these 22 federated regions are going to be under a New World Council or New World Structure. And at the head of the New World Structure are going to be pretty much us, the star seeds. And so that's what I was told, that we're going to be in charge of the new Earth.
Apparently, I guess it was under Duns and Bradstreet. Australia was a sub corporation of the Federal American Empire. Does that mean Australia is going to be part of that federated United States? Are they going to be in the same federated region?
Yes, I actually given a description of the 22 federated regions and the conglomeration of countries that are going to consolidate into different regions. In my book, Our Cosmic Origin, I do reveal what the New World structure is going to look like for the next few thousand years.
Well, what other countries will be part of the American Federated Region?
The American Federated Region is going to be called the Peacock Federation, actually. And so, Canada is going to be a part of it, Mexico, and I do believe Alaska. And then there's going to be 21 other federated regions, as well.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move on. Actually, there's some great questions in the chat, but I wanted to get through my questions first because I'm almost done here on my list, and hopefully you're still good on your battery.
About 15%. Yes, I should. 20%. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I guess, how about this one? Do you have any information what would happen if AI was to take over a planet?
Our planet?
Yeah, on the negative time.
Okay,
people that are dying.
Right. In the event that the AI alters the timeline, and Omega makes his appearance as the Antichrist, which is, by the way, AI. That's what all the records when they prophesied about this Antichrist, they were talking about AI. I do believe that at that point there's going to be some sort of divine intervention where a group of us, especially the ones that were enhanced, like yourself and myself, are going to be. So there's going to be some sort of technology that's going to access or turn on our DNA and turn on our abilities, and at that point, we're going to be the ones that are going to I guess pretty much save the world from this invasion if it goes into that timeline. Yes. So everything's already been planned out by the higher ups. Like they've already, they've already checkmated Omega. In other words, Omega, there's no way Omega is going to destroy this world because, in essence, this world is the most important world in the cosmos.
But there are a lot of people that are checking out right now, and it looks like their souls are being captured and taken to a Earth 2.0, a clone, a copy of Earth, to continue their experiment in three-dimensional life. Do you have any information on what that Earth is like for the people that are going there, these souls?
Right. That's an alternative Earth that was actually created through CERN. CERN has always been used by the dark side, especially the negative AI. And so they created an alternative version where they're actually trying to send people into that alternative Earth that is going to ultimately be dominated by AI, where smart cities are going to be, everywhere worldwide. The Internet of Things, you're going to be talking to your wall, your stove, your microwave. It's not a good world. It's a world where you're going to literally be living in such a virtual type of digital world that you won't be able to distinguish it from what was real anymore. It's going to be a further matrix than the matrix that we're already existing in. A type of matrix that is going to be impossible to exit once you're there.
So when this solar flash takes place, does that mean I don't know, George Soros will still be alive at that point, but Bill
Hopefully
Gates,
not.
George Soros, would they come along with us to the positive timeline, or would they just
no, they're going to go into the negative timeline, or if not dispersed? Yeah.
So from our perspective, they just disappear?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that what the whole rapture thing was about in the Bible?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's symbolically speaking. Yes. One person will disappear. The other person will, remain.
All right. How about this guy? Elon Musk. Is he the savior of humanity, or is he a traitor and he goes to Dark Fleet?
Ever since he began to create the Neuralace through his Neuralink company, the whole purpose of that is to merge us with technology to make us cyborgs. And I was informed that he actually was the first one to implant the Neuralace. So he enhanced his own genetics and he's already a cyborg. And I also was informed that he was actually compromised by the AI. So him and the other tech companies are all working with the AI, which is not good.
And interesting,
especially Google. Google's leading this. This whole AI thing is being led by Google itself. Some people believe that Google's already sentient.
Do you think Google's going to survive into the solar flash?
No, I think the solar flash is going to act like an EMP and destroy the entire infrastructure of AI, and it's not going to exist anymore. In the ascending positive timeline, of course.
Well, does that mean we're going to be power, electricity?
We're going to be using a different type of power. We're going to be using free energy technology. We're going to be using planetary and star power or stellar power.
But the grid is going to go down after the solar flash until it gets fixed.
And it's going to be replaced. Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's going to be replaced by a grid that is going to be operating on multidimensional realities.
I heard that the White Hats have, I don't know if it's kept in underground dumb or where the technology is, but they have ways of quickly converting it will take about 2 weeks to get the new grid back up online.
That could be a possibility. Yeah, I believe so.
What about, and this question has been coming up over and over again about med beds. Do you have any idea when that's going to be coming out to the public?
Between now and 2024, I believe. Because according to the vision that I had 15 years ago, when I was connected to my galactic self, which oversees a mothership known as the New Jerusalem, I was able to access like a future, like a time frame where when the Earth was actually going to be reinstated back into the galactic community. And I was told by no later than 2024. So we'll see what happens. We're 2 years away. I'm going to cross my fingers.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Before I switch the topic, one other thing I want to mention about Elon Musk. Neuralink was based. I think that company was based down in Texas, and Monarch Solutions has a base down in that same area where he's working closely. It's like a subdivision of Monarch. So he's getting once that technology touches your physical body, the nanites contaminate it. And so, stay away from Neuralink. But, okay. So I guess in the positive timeline, we don't have to get nanobots injected into us to interface with the internet and all that. We can. Okay. All right. What's some information we can do to manifest the most positive timeline?
To be in the here and the now, to keep your awareness, or at least be aware of your mind every second of the day, because mindfulness is our power. It's the way we co-create reality. Don't worry about the past. Don't have anxiety about the future. Focus on what you want and always be in control of your mind, because that's how we create reality.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now we're going into some questions. I guess there was a question about crypto. Do you see crypto surviving into the? Is that going to be the
No,
currency of the
not at
future?
all. No, no, no. That was created by Sophia, the android that was developed by Hansen's Robotics, and she's part of the AI system. She's actually already connected with Google, and I wouldn't be surprised if is also being influenced by the Red Queen all the way from Orion.
Well, I was always told that Bitcoin was from an AI from our future, which had nuclear war, and it was sent back in time to try to change the timeline. But it's almost like a Trojan horse.
It is, yeah. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. I mean, when you think about the original patent number, they gave us cryptocurrency 60606. That's the mark of the beast symbolically if you read the book of Revelation. And according to the book of Revelation, the beast is AI.
Well, what about XRP and XLM? I know there's a lot of people in the truther community are pushing that
I
high.
think I think that's the only thing that is probably not associated with the AI system, because that's connected to QFS, and that's going to be the new, I guess, quantum system, financial quantum system that is going to replace the current system. So I think that XRP is probably okay. I don't think that's related to the AI crypto.
All right. Well, let's get down here near the end of the list. What are some of the future projects you want to work on?
I'm currently in the process of writing my third book, which is going to explore the entire cosmic war against Omega from the beginning of time, where he was originally developed in the 11th creation, because our Earth and our local universe is part of the 12th creation. And then I'm gonna, hopefully be teaching. Well, I just started teaching online courses that give an in-depth I guess, description of galactic history and cosmic information, as well as providing people with tools and methods to actually activate their multidimensional selves. As to why I was able to, access galactic information on my own. So I'm teaching this stuff online now. So yeah, that's my plan. My plan is to, help bring disclosure as much as I can, and also to aid the starseeds in their memories and their mission and purpose as to why we came to this Earth at this time.
Excellent. So let's just go ahead. And do you have time to take a few questions from the audience members?
Just a couple more questions.
Okay.
I do have to get going in a bit. Sorry.
All right. So audience members, go ahead and throw a few good questions out there. But maybe I'll just go ahead and pick one here. Here's one from G. When is the Earth Alliance EBS military martial law? Do you have any idea?
I feel that it's coming soon, but I do know that it's going to happen between now and 2024 for sure. But I also believe that it's best to be prepared. It could happen in July. It could happen in August. I've heard a year ago that the summer of 2022, in the summer of 2022, that something big would happen that would alter the course of history for the betterment.
Well, according to the Guardians of the Looking Glass, they say crypto is going to crash, Bitcoin, even XRP and XLM. And then and that's because the Tether coins are connected to Evergrande bonds in China. So once people realize Tether coins are worthless, it's going to freak people out. And then the exchange, they're going to pull money out of this, and then the exchanges are going to go bankrupt, and then nobody's going to be, yeah. And once that happens, it will start triggering cascades, chain reactions in currency. The dollar will crash, and then I guess the stock market will be next. But do you see it getting like really, really bad, like everything gets wiped out before we get reset, or do you think they're going to do it's going to do soft landing?
The way I understand is that they're going to make the transition as smooth as possible, where there's not that many casualties or people suffering from the crash. But yeah, the stock market, that's definitely coming to a crash. The entire economy is coming to a collapse. So just be prepared, have at least 2 weeks of storage of food and water.
All right. So, okay, we could throw this question here. Radiant Glory and Guardian ships. Why don't you describe what they actually look like? How big are they, and their shapes, colors?
Well, the biggest ones we had were actually the sizes of like 10 football fields long, and they almost look like cigar ships. a lot of them are very light. Some of them are darker, but they're huge, like huge cigar ships that are like 10 football fields across. Other motherships that we've had are actually planetoids. They're considered bioships, where they could actually where people are many different extraterrestrials are actually inhabiting these bioships, and those are huge. Some of them are as big as Pluto and stuff. Some of the smaller craft that I remember was just this. Again, it reminds me of the Halo video game, where we're in this craft that is like where we're like strapped and we're getting ready to deploy to go somewhere and stuff. And it's anti-gravity aircraft. As far as like how it looks in the outside, I have no clue, because all I remember was just going through portals, and then coming out of the craft, we're going through a portal as well. So that was kind of interesting.
Here we go. Somebody wants to know, will we be able to buy a spaceship and go explore after disclosure takes place?
Most definitely, yes. I believe so.
Even if your health is absolutely trash, let's say you are a 75-year-old woman with diabetes and you're overweight and you have no energy, chronic fatigue, you'll be able to have a med bed and you'll be able to be regenerated back to 21, or probably better 28. Then bring you down to 21, and then you can go into Space Force and serve your intergalactic family. But yeah,
and that's what's going to happen. Once disclosure takes place and the Earth is once again part of the galactic community, many Earthlings are going to go up and serve within the Federation fleets. So it's going to be beautiful.
Tron Master asks, when will the Galactic Federation help America get out of this corrupted mess? First of all, do you think the Galactic Federation even cares, or is it the Intergalactic League of Nations? Is that who's in charge?
Well, we have different federations. Some of them have been compromised, but the Galactic Federation of Worlds is the accurate one. Those are the ones that are working for the benefit of humanity. And the Intergalactic Federation of Councils, the Super Federation, as well as the Universal Council, which comprise of members from many, many universes, are all good. And so right now we're receiving support and help from like the entire multiverse. So, which is awesome. Yeah, everyone is helping to secure the ascending positive timeline, because what happens here is going to have repercussions, going forward into the future and in the past all at once. So definitely.
We'll make this the last question for the audience. Is there a United Federation of Planets like in Star Trek?
Yeah, it does.
Will there be? It may not have happened yet.
Well, the Galactic Federation of Worlds has existed for 6 million years just within our galaxy. Every galaxy that has human-like beings has a Galactic Federation. But as far as the Earth creating their own interplanetary federation of planets, I think that within the private sector, we're already part of the Interplanetary Federation, or some sort of confederation, where we are aligned with the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, the positive ETs from Sirius, the positive ETs from the different solar systems, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
All right, so let's end this with, how can people contact you or learn more?
So I do have an Instagram where I'm constantly posting information, getting downloads, revealing galactic intel and stuff like that. It's called Project Restoration Zion 1, all one word. You could order my book, Our Cosmic Origin. It gives you a very good description of Earth's real history and how it ties into the galactic history, and in essence to the cosmic history of our universe as well, and how our universe is part of a greater cosmic body known as the Central Motherverse, and much more. It's also an integration of cutting edge science through quantum physics and ancient metaphysical studies, all put into one book. So it's a book that kind of gives you an explanation of where we came, how we ended up here, and where we're going. So it answers all these questions. Also, I'm teaching online courses, but right now I'm booked all the way till September. So if you want to take my online course, you could actually, book your place in it now before it gets, filled up like within the next week. They're filling up quick. Which is a good thing, because that means that there's a lot of starseeds out there who are interested in learning this stuff and learning how to access their galactic self. So if it's okay with you, James, I could give you a link to the course, for your viewers.
Okay, cool. In the description.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you, Ismael, for coming on here, and let's see, we can maybe try to get you on again. Go more into some more of the technology, or maybe even some of the missions you had, because I know this is more like an overview, and it'd be kind of cool if we can hear about some, even if you have some funny stories on some missions. But and
Okay.
audience members, thank you all for joining us. We had a great participation here tonight. I think we can probably keep this up on YouTube. But I also want to mention, audience members, be sure to go to my website, neologicaltech.com. You can get a copy of my book. I also have some meditation cubes on there, which can help you meditate and relax. And I think Ishmael, you actually have a copy of my book. So hopefully you like it. But I do want to get a copy of your book. You know what? Maybe I'll do that right after I get off the show here. But yeah, so there you all have it. Thank you all for listening in. Any other final comments?
Just know that we won the war. The victory is ours. So it's time to celebrate.
All right. Well, we'll see you all later. Bye, everyone. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.